Alrighty, we're trying this again. Sorry again. We've been having some technical difficulties this evening. The video's been lagging and not connecting to the internet, but we know that this evening is going to be a great interview here with Shakia. I'm trying to bring her on. Just waiting to see if it'll pop up. Because I had to, usually I do it through a different platform through StreamYard. And usually it will, okay, here she is. Huh. It's telling me. Okay.
I think we did
There
it.
we go. Hallelujah.
I think we did it.
Man. Thank you for joining us, Shakia. Thank you for, we just pivoted, right? We were just talking about the day that we've had and,
Yeah,
we're here, right? We're
we're
here.
here.
Happy, positive vibes.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So, Shakia and I know each other. We used to work together and we used to have so many great conversations. She would always share some nuggets with me, and her story is just so powerful. And I wanted to bring her on this evening because I believe that she has great things to share and great things to say. So thank you so much, Shakia. If you could just briefly introduce yourself to our audience here so they can get to know a little bit about you.
I'm Shakia Martin. I'm the mother of three children naturally and one by love. They are Olivia's 24, Jared, my one by love, is 22, Abigail is 21, and Joshua is 17. So as I
Oh,
like to say, I'm almost done.
yes. I hear you. It's funny because we both have 17-year-old boys, except
Oh,
mine is my oldest. And
oh.
now I have the 2-year-old. So I would have been in your boat, but I just started all over again. But yeah, thank you for sharing. So if you could just, share a little bit about your story, like where your journey started, and so that we can get to know a little bit of your background.
Oh, so I don't know. I think I have what I thought was a typical upbringing. Like
Mm,
it just, my brother and I talk about our life to our children, and it's so far different and removed from the life that they lived. But for us, it was normal. And so I grew up with my grandmother. My mom and my dad were both drug addicts.
mm,
My dad sold drugs. And so my grandmother raised us probably from the time, if I could remember right, I was like 3 or 4.
mm,
Um, she raised us, and my uncles, because my uncles lived there. We had a slew of uncles that were integral in our upbringing. We
mm.
were brought up in church. Um, I went to 2 churches, sometimes 3 churches on the same Sunday. Uh,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
because it was afternoon churches and morning churches, and they were all different denominations as
Mhm.
well. So
Wow.
I can't say we were one denomination. We went to a Presbyterian church. I was a member of a Baptist church, and then we went to what was Sunday Mission, which was just uh, like a Sunday school for kids in the afternoon.
Mm,
Um, and so I grew up in Philadelphia. So that's way different than my children being here in Lancaster. And
yeah.
so I grew up in a tight knit community, even though it was Philadelphia. Like I grew up with my neighborhood friends whose parents grew up together, whose parents all moved into the neighborhood at the same time.
Mm,
And so we were really close.
mm,
Uh, and we all shared the similar background. Our
mm.
parents all pretty much did the same thing. And
Mm.
I guess maybe growing up together, that's part of the reason. So
Yeah.
we were all pretty much being raised partially by parents and partially by grandparents or other family members. And so,
Mm.
um, yeah, yeah, that's a little of my start.
Got you. And how did the dynamic affect you, either in a negative way or a positive way, the way that you grew up?
I think that's one of those things that is always unfolding with me. Because,
Mm.
like I said, I considered my upbringing to be normal.
Mm.
It was a typical story. There was nothing about it that seemed not normal until I moved out of Philadelphia and I moved around some different people. Did it not look normal at all? And so I think as I get older, the more I dive into my family, the more I dive into my experiences, my trauma, my discovering who I am and why I do the things I do, I start to see those things and how they impacted. I start to see the relationship that I had with my father, who's no longer here, and what that plays on my children, my relationship with my mother, how that impacted my children. And so I was the mom who never wanted to be like her parents. And
Mm.
so I was the mom who was like, we're going to do everything. And yeah, you can do every instrument you want to. I'll be at every concert. We're going to bake cookies on the holidays. We're going to do all this stuff. And my grandmother did that kind of
Mm.
stuff. Like, we bake cookies every holiday, like that kind of stuff. But it was so important for me to be so engrossed in my children's lives, Girl Scouts, things like that. Like, it was so important for me to be front and center, for them to see me front and center.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes the older they have gotten and the more that I know, the substitution isn't healthy. So
Mm.
the wanting to be on the flip side is just as unhealthy as living through what I lived through.
Mm.
Sometimes the codependency we create in life
Mm.
to people being codependent on us, because we can create that,
Yeah.
or us being codependent on people and situations, is unhealthy on both respects. And so there's that balance that I'm now trying to find in my life on what that looks like. And I have not achieved it yet.
Yeah. Gotcha. So, when you say that codependency of, the dynamic where your parents weren't there, so now you're doing the total opposite in your mind in a more positive way, um, how has that affected your relationship with your kids
Mm,
and yourself as well?
I think I pushed my kids. I really did push my kids to
Mm.
be independent because
Mm.
I was a teen mom. I had my oldest when I was 17, and then
Mm.
I moved to Lancaster.
Oh.
So I moved completely away from my family. I moved to a group home, to House of Risk Creation in Lidditz, in Coatesville, and in Lidditz.
Mm.
And so it was important for me to make them self-aware and independent. It was
Mm.
important for me to teach them the skills I felt like they needed for life, because I didn't know what life was going to look like. I knew
Mm.
I didn't want it to look like mine. And
Yeah.
so in my mind, I wanted to prepare them for everything so they could not say, we didn't have the chance. We don't know. Like, no one could ever say to them, did your mom teach you that? Because the answer was yes, she did. And
Mm.
that is unhealthy. And
Gotcha.
sometimes I think I put boundaries in place for them and expectations in place for them that were really stuff that I should have
Mm.
had in my life that I didn't, and I wanted to make sure that they could not say they did. Um,
Gotcha.
and so it plays out differently in each kid. Like, it has. And so my boundaries have swayed with each kid the older they get, and the more I know, and the
Mm.
older I grow. It does change a little bit. I have two, my oldest and my youngest, for some reason, are almost exactly the same. Like, they behave
Mm.
almost exactly the same. And then I have the middle one that is like bubbly, and she has just a completely different personality. And so even the thing of balancing how to interact with each of them has
Gotcha.
been a learning experience, because what do I know? I've been learning right along with them. And so
Yeah.
I think the most important thing I learned is that there are no rules. There really is no rules. And to say that I want to do something different than my family, or to say that I don't want to raise my kids this way, sometimes those things are in place for a reason.
Mm,
And I can't discount the structure that it brings just because it didn't look the way that I wanted it to look.
mm,
And that's something that I didn't learn until I moved out of it. Like
yeah.
it was listening to other people, I think, and somehow, and I'm gonna say this because I'm black.
Yeah.
My children are, my oldest is completely black, but my other two are half white. My first husband was white. And so moving out of Philadelphia, I moved around people who were all white.
Mm,
And so that's a dynamic that was completely different because from their viewpoint, everything about the way I was raised was wrong.
mm,
It didn't mesh up. And so trying to find a place in my culture, their culture, and then raise children in both of their culture. And both of those cultures have been a very interesting dynamic. I'm
wow.
not sure that I nailed it,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
but it's
I
gone.
yeah, I think like it's important that that we recognize, childhood trauma or the way that we're raised, we can either go one or two ways, right? We can either continue to teach our kids and raise our kids the way that we were raised,
Hmm.
or we can go to that opposite spectrum, right? And you just never know how that's going to turn out. I think as parents, especially as mothers, like sometimes we feel like failures. Sometimes we're like, because I grew up in a very strict home and going to church. I didn't go to three churches in one day, but but I know all about, being like that structure and I think that's important, that the fact that you're talking about this, because I think when we worked together, we talked a lot about um our sons because they were so close in age, and the things we would go through with them, because you're like, man, it's really a figure it out on the way as you go
Yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
What do you feel like are some things that you've learned in your journey as a mother that you feel like other mothers uh could learn uh, from?
I this is a hard one because I feel like I'm just learning this lesson
Okay.
at 42,
Yeah.
and it's that perfection is not real
Mm,
because you could not tell me that before. My
uh,
whole life was living to be perfect,
mm,
to a situation or to a person, and so I did raise my kids with that. Like there's no excuse.
mm,
There's no limit. You can't tell me you can't, you didn't, whatever. Like we'll figure it out. And with that boy of mine, that is the example of perfection is not real. And
mm,
so I've had to learn to stop looking at myself through the eyes of perfection, but also to stop requiring it from my children.
mm,
And the oldest two, I don't know that I can help because they've already lived through that one. But
yeah.
this other one, just taking a deep breath and really going, is this something that I can change? Is
Mm,
this something that I need to change?
yeah.
And not me, not like, is this something that I can change for him? Is this something that I need to change for him? Is this a lesson he's going to have to figure out? Is this, is this just him?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, this is just him, and I need to adjust myself instead of coming from the lens of how can we work this out and figure this out because something has to change here. And
Mm,
so I think he has taught me the most in everything doesn't have to look right and
mm,
everything doesn't have to go by a timeline.
mm,
And sometimes I'm gonna be frustrated and I just need to take a breath because he is who he is, and that's just going to be it. And it's okay. I
yeah.
don't have to understand. I don't have to understand 100% of anything to still be his parent.
Mm.
And that is a lesson that I am learning today as we just got through summer school. And I'm like, I don't understand how you didn't pass the class and you had all summer to do it. Like, I don't,
Yeah.
I don't understand. But you're going to work this out next year. your counselor is going to work this out. And as a mother, I'm going to take a deep breath and you're going to live through this.
Yeah.
And just dropping that, it's not dropping the expectation, it's just dropping how I respond to it,
Gotcha.
because this could have went a completely different way.
Yeah.
Um, and so I guess it's that thing of giving grace. I'm
Mm,
learning to give grace at 42,
mm,
um, where I don't know that I did that before.
mm. Beautiful. It's funny that you're touching on this subject because I was thinking about that earlier because with my son, I feel like the 15 through 16 was like I felt like a complete failure. I'm like, how can I help everybody else? I can't help my own son.
Yeah.
I'm thankful, like some of the things that you said are key, like meeting him where he's at, no, letting him be who he is,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that he's going to deal with things in the way that he can.
Right.
And I feel like those are some great nuggets. Later on, maybe we can have a deeper discussion on that subject because raising kids is hard. Being a single mother, even harder. Living in a blended family is hard,
Yeah.
and I feel like you said, it's those shifting points when you're parenting, that you learn along the way, but we
Mm-hmm.
can share with other mothers, and
Mm-hmm.
others as they go. But definitely knowing that we are all different, that we don't have to be on opposite spectrums, and that grace, man,
It's
great.
important.
It is so, yeah, and that perfection, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's us acting out of trauma, because that's I used to feel like I was never enough.
Mm-hmm.
I never did good enough.
Mm-hmm.
um, it's definitely something that you think you're doing things differently, but then you're
You're not.
end up doing the same, but just in a different way.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly it. It's like having a partner or having a spouse, and you two are, trying to have a conversation about folding clothes. And
Mhm.
you fold one way and he folds the other. And now the both of you are back and forth about how to fold these clothes. The point is, you're both getting it folded, but
Yeah,
neither one of you can see it. It's
yeah,
the same way with raising kids. And it's not quite that simple, but it is. It
yeah,
really is.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Mhm.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
um Now, if you could share, what what was like a really low point in your life, and how did you shift that to where you are today?
My goodness. Oh, I've had a lot of low points in my life, and I'm probably not done having low points in my
Oh
life.
yeah.
And I think that's the most amazing thing about living,
Yes.
is that you get to experience those things. And I think that's just growth with me saying that right now. You get to experience those low points, and
Hmm.
they're important. And we like to say, like, we never like to be there. But like, I've been married twice, I've been divorced twice, I've been a single mother, I've been a mother, with a spouse. I've been homeless, I've been like sleeping on a friend's couch, a friend's floor. Like, those are all low moments. But
Hmm.
in each of those moments, there is so much that you need to get out of it. And
Mm.
so it's not just how do you pick yourself back up. That's only part of it. It's the lesson that you need to learn in there. It's the facing yourself in those moments. It's
Yes.
not the like, it's not the I'm homeless, how do I get a house?
Hmm.
That's one thing. But no, it's all the nuggets. What got you here?
Mm.
How did you get here? What are
Yeah.
you thinking about yourself while you're there?
Mm.
Because we can all go to survival mode,
Hmm.
but survival mode doesn't fix anything.
Mm.
Survival mode doesn't teach you a lesson either. It's the let me really take a look at myself. And sometimes it means that you have to take a look at your family history to know where you came from. Because sometimes the things that we consider low moments are really just generational cycles.
Mm.
And that is important, because if I can see how I got here, see what my thinking was in the moment that might have led me here, led to here, what am I thinking while I'm here, then I can start to shift my thinking to
Mm.
get out of it. And it's that thing, and I have an old pastor, Ruby Jones, who would say this all the time, like it doesn't matter where you move because you're going to take you wherever you go. And
Mm,
it's true. And it's the same thought with your thinking. Unless my thinking shifts, my situation will completely continue to cycle.
mm.
And those cycles are something. Those
Yeah.
cycles are those things that you want to stop. And so I think I'm at a point in my life where every low that I've had, I've gotten out of because my mind my mindset has shifted. And
Mm,
it's those things of confronting yourself. And sometimes it seems so simple, but it's so hard. I had a women's group and we haven't met for quite a while now, but the one thing we would continuously talk about was forgiving yourself.
mm,
And sometimes getting out of cycles are just as simple as forgiving yourself, but it's the hardest thing to do because to forgive yourself, you have to confront you.
mm,
And it might not be the current version of you that's here now. I
mm,
might be in a cycle of a failed relationship, a failed marriage because of something that happened in my childhood or
mm,
that happened in my teenage years. And so it's going back to those points in your life. Um, and what you do is you just go back to those things that come to your head. Like we all like to play that we don't know what's going on, but our head and our heart tells us all the time, you know what you're feeling. And so maybe it's, I did not do good in this relationship because the things he said reminded me of something that my father said.
mm.
And it could be, it seems so simple, but it's not when you're hurt. It's not
Yeah.
when that's a trigger.
Yeah.
And so it's going back to that point and loving on yourself from that point,
Mhm,
and maybe saying the things that you wish you would have said then, defending yourself the way you wish you would have then, and then going like, we don't live there anymore. I
yeah.
don't live at that point anymore. This is where I am, and I need to be present for me
Mm,
now. And so that's pretty much the way I've gotten myself out of every low point. And then you have a team of people. We
mm,
all need a team of people. We need people that will speak life into us. We need people that will help us when we're down. We need people that will tell us the truth, no matter
mm,
how much it hurts. Um, and when you get those people, you keep those people. But you do realize that some of those people are just there for the cycle as well,
mm.
and
Say that.
that's important to know. Yes.
Wow. Yes, that is so true. Sometimes we think people are going to be in our lives forever,
And
and sometimes they aren't, and it
mm-hmm.
hurts. It hurts that maybe people that we were really close to and that we love dearly, all of
Mm-hmm.
a sudden they just drop off.
Yes. Yes.
Like, hey, I thought we were going all the way together.
Yes. But it's a part of growth. It is
Mm,
a part of growth. Everyone is not meant to be with you through every part of your life. They're just not. It is seasons to it. The Bible is very clear about seasons, and that is very true. There
yeah.
are seasons to people, there are seasons to things in your life, there are seasons to problems in your life. There are things that have plagued you forever that you think will continue, but it won't. It has a season, it has an expiration date. And
Mm,
so we need to be mindful of what we hold on to,
mhm,
because we could be doing two things. Either you could be stopping your own growth or you could be stopping that person's growth.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's deep. And this is why I love talking to you, girl. That gets the wisdom.
Yeah.
Um, so what are like so you talked about when you've been in your low points in life and you've talked to yourself and you made yourself look at yourself, forgiving yourself. Like what are some things that you do on a regular that continue to keep that kind of mindset? Because not everybody has that mindset. A lot of times when people go through their low points, like you said, they keep going in those cycles, they
Yeah.
keep going in those same things. So if someone right now is watching and they're currently going through some low things, what are some things you could share that maybe they could incorporate in their lives, or things that you realized up until this point, because we continue learning, right? We continue
Yes, we
evolving,
do.
but that you feel have been very important in your life.
Hmm. So prayer is always important. Prayer is very important. And prayer is a simple conversation. It's
Yeah.
it's not something that you need to know. And if and I have people who say like I don't know how to pray. Prayer
Mm.
is all over the internet. So you
Mhm.
can Google a prayer for almost anything that you want a prayer for, and you will either find it in words where you can print it out and keep it with you, or YouTube. I in the morning when I wake up, before I grab my phone, I try not to grab my phone, and start scrolling because we can all do that. But I have a moment of gratitude. I wake up. I thank God. I thank my ancestors. I thank everyone for just being awake and just having this day. And then I claim my abundance for today. Today's going to be abundant. I'm going to be abundant in every area of my life today. I thank you, God, for showing me how good it can get in every area of my life and in my dreams. Um, just those kind of things. And then if I don't have a prayer that comes to my head, or I feel like I just can't seem to get the words together, YouTube, I made a playlist. There's
Mm.
prayers. And every time I see one I like, I just add it to the playlist. And then I just go put it on my TV and let it play while I'm getting dressed.
Mm.
And I touch and agree. And that's just it. It can be just that simple. But prayer is such a big part of my life. Worship is a big part of my life. Meditation's a big part of my life. I can pray, I can pray, I can pray, but if I can't sit to hear,
Mm.
then I don't receive anything. And so I need to be on the hearing end of it as well. And meditation allows me to do that. It just allows me to sit quietly.
Mm.
My kids laugh, but I just took a picture hugging a tree. But hugging trees are completely grounding. And
Yeah.
so if you're not embarrassed, take your shoes off, walk outside, and hug a tree and
Yeah.
just feel connected to the earth. And just spend a moment there just being grateful that you have that sense of touch.
Hmm.
Gratitude is huge. Gratitude really will shift your life. It
Mm.
will shift the atmosphere to just proclaim how grateful you are for things. And it could be little things, it doesn't have to be huge. But those are just pivotal ways to shift your mindset. And when
Yeah.
you shift your mindset, you really do shift everything around you. And also be mindful because we ask God for some things that we are not ready to receive.
Ooh,
Um,
say
and
that.
so when we talk about people coming and going in our life, like if you're praying prayers to say, Lord, like I want, or I want what's for my highest good, it might not be the people in your life. So if you see people exiting massively in your life, well, you've prayed for it. So be mindful that what you pray for, what you ask for, what you ask for, you need to believe for also. Can't keep asking God for stuff that you don't believe for. But when you ask for it, believe for it, but also watch the way that it comes because it may not come the way you thought. And so you have to be ready for that. I'm also really good at scripting. I write out what I think. I write out what I would like in a form of I thank you, God, for, and I get very detailed. If it's a new job, I just got a new job actually. If it's a new job, it's I thank you, God, for this job with coworkers who are going to be supportive, with coworkers who are going to be whatever, where I get to travel, where I get to use X, Y, and Z skills. Write that out. And then I have a box that I keep them in. I put them in a box and I forget them.
Mm.
And then every once in a while you go back and you look and you go, yeah, this happened, that happened. I also do you do it also because I saw vision boards.
Yes.
I do vision boards because it's important, and I typically do them on New Year's Eve,
Mm.
and then I pray, I ask God, what is my vision for the next year? Give me some words. Give me some words for the next year. And then I go and I just felt like I needed to do a new one. So I don't typically do them halfway through the year, but something is saying you need to set a new vision. And
Yeah.
so I'm going to set some time aside to do a new board.
Yeah.
Um, but it's always wonderful to look back at the end of the year and go, you've been faithful. You
Mm.
have been faithful, and this is manifested in my life. And so yeah, it's a lot.
I love it. No, that's it. Like changing your mindset is hard.
Hmm.
I talk about and I've shared, like, I've had those moments where, like, I was very severely depressed and
Hmm.
panic attacks all the time, suicidal. And, working on my mind has been the best thing I could ever do, because
Yeah,
now I help other people shift their mindset and help them and break that curse of that heaviness. But it's hard. It's
it's hard.
definitely started on that path, but there is no lack of resources.
Hmm.
And, I love what you said. Prayer. Prayer, I mean, even if you're not a believer, you can't do this on your own. You can't do this thing called life. Like, I grew up in a very religious organization. Later on, come to realize they have very cult like things, right? And, I never felt the Holy Spirit before. And once I did, I couldn't deny that fact. And it makes me sad sometimes because people have turned away from a relationship with God because they were in a religion. And a lot of people don't understand that difference in dynamic religion versus relationship. But yeah, like that prayer, that meditation, that gratitude, and like we can shift our lives in such a positive way by what we put into it. Like we eat. We
Yes,
eat through our eyes, we eat through our ears, we eat through what we speak.
yes.
Like it's constant. So I love all of that you shared. And
Yeah.
is there anything else that you would like to share that you feel on your heart, that you feel is important, that someone that might be watching might need to hear right now?
Yeah, I think just being okay with growth, just being okay with change,
Mm,
and not allowing yourself to go, this is what I used to,
mm,
X, Y, and Z. Because you are every day is a new day. I'm very big on every day is a new day. Every day I woke up, it's a new opportunity. He said his grace and mercy is here for me every day. His
yeah,
grace and mercy can be here, but if I'm not extending that to myself, then that doesn't matter because I won't receive it. But also, not letting other people hold you to what you used to be and who you used to be. And I don't care if you was that 2 days ago, that was 2 days ago. And today is a new day.
yeah,
And being okay with who you're becoming,
mm,
even if it doesn't look like who you were. It shouldn't look like who you were.
yeah,
Um, and then let those people go.
yeah,
Let those people go, let those thoughts go, let anything go that wants to keep you where you were. Be as different as you want to be as weird as you want to be. Just be okay being yourself. I've gotten to a point where I am okay being myself and
yeah,
what that looks like. And that has been a journey.
mm,
That has absolutely been a journey, from my hair to my clothing to my just space in general. Just being okay with all the things that make me me. And that's important. And it is an everyday process to be okay with yourself.
I love it. Yes. I feel like a lot of times we live our lives to please others, whether it was
Hmm.
our grandparents, our children, like just living.
Hmm.
People don't realize how much that weighs you down when you're just living for everyone else.
Yes.
And many of us are guilty of that. I was guilty of that most of my life.
Hmm.
Now that I'm okay with, no, this is what I like, this is how I'm going to be, it's just so freeing, because we live in a world that comes from people seeking validation.
Hmm.
We want to feel accepted, we want to feel wanted, we want to feel loved. But when you do that for yourself, when you validate yourself, you put your stamp on it, you're just like, this is me. I
Yeah.
like me. I love me. If you don't, I don't need your approval. How
Yeah.
free is that, right?
It's free. It's so free. It even goes as far as, like, my kids and I just went away for the weekend, and uh just the pictures that I posted on social media. Now, I posted those pictures um, because that was our fun.
Yeah.
And then when you think about, well, did I smile right? Was my
Mm.
clothes right? Was my, and I had to say, girl, cut it out. Do, do you remember the memory that went along with that picture, whether someone is going to like it or not like it, whether you thought your hair looked perfect or it was blowing in the wind or it just looked crazy. Do
Mm.
you remember the time that you had to go along with that picture? Because that's all that matters.
Yes.
And when I gave myself the permission to let go of what did these pictures look perfect for social media, it was a whole different experience. But
Yeah.
even those small things that we don't think about that weigh so heavily on us, um,
Yeah.
just be free.
Yeah. And that's important that you said even those small things, because it starts with the small things.
Hmm.
Like, talk about shifting your mindset, it starts with small things. Like, you
Hmm.
like, have to have conversations with yourself, right?
You
i
do.
I always tell, like, my clients and stuff, I'm like, you have to, like, you're with you all the time. Like, there's thoughts that we have that nobody else would ever know that we have.
Hmm.
We have to talk to ourselves the most and convince ourselves the most.
Hmm.
um, and I love, like you said, it's an everyday thing. Like, just because maybe you're doing better now, it doesn't mean that every so often those negative thoughts, those old habits try to creep in. And that's why it's important that you do those things every single day.
Hmm.
Because when we don't, we go to
Yeah,
default.
we do. And it's very true. Out of your mouth, your heart speaks. And
Yeah.
so you'll know because you're speaking and you'll know exactly what's in your heart by what's coming out of your mouth. And
Mm,
so you can check yourself. You
yeah.
don't need someone else to check you. You don't need someone else to figure it out. You know exactly what you're feeling and where you are at the moment. And that prayer meditation comes in. I put my hand over my heart and I go, check in. How are you feeling at this moment? Or if something happens, it's a check in. Why is that weighing on you? Why did the thing that that person say
Mm,
affect you the way that it did? And it could be something as simple as maybe, you were fixing something at work or copying something at work and your boss said something about, oh no, this doesn't look right or the paper doesn't look great. And it just kind of hits you a certain way. And I
yeah.
have to check in and go, well, girl, like she didn't say anything. Why is that impacting you the way it is? And so those simple, quiet conversations with yourself will reveal a lot.
Yeah. And that's important. That's reflection, right? We That's
Hmm.
looking in the mirror. It's the same way we would look in the mirror if we would see our mouth is dirty. We're not gonna be like, oh my God, it's the end of the world. No, you take something, you clean it off, right?
Hmm.
Not beat ourselves up. I was listening to a podcast the other day, and he was talking about, like, as human beings, like, animals don't have the capability of being able to reflect, of being able to look inward. Like, we that's a gift that we have, and that reflection is to help us to be better, to do better, and not to bring ourselves down, right?
Right. Absolutely. I think the other thing I would say, and this has taken a very, very long journey. It's still a long journey.
Yeah.
Um, is the importance of one self-love.
Mm,
Self-love is ultimately important. And I remember a time in my life where I hated when someone said, "Well, you just need to have a little bit more self-love," because
mm,
I thought, what does that look like?
yeah.
Like, somebody tell me the magic formula for what self-love looks like. But it is ultimately very true that you have to have self-love for
Yeah.
yourself every day. And it's
Yeah.
a struggle.
Yeah.
It is a struggle. But also, the transformation that comes, and I want to think of how we're going to say this, when you free up space.
Mm-hmm.
And so we do this. I know I do this. I did this with my kids forever. Christmas comes and you get rid of stuff to get stuff. When you
Mm,
change your summer clothes over, you get rid of stuff, you get stuff. But it's so important in all of your environments that you do that, but your mind as well, your
yeah.
life as well. And
Yeah.
so for my ladies group, I would use the analogy of um, you asking for a car. You want a new car. You got
Mm,
this old car, it's in the garage, it doesn't work. You keep asking for a new car and you keep wondering why the new car isn't coming. And
yeah.
finally, you get the new car, but you have nowhere to put it because
Mm,
you still haven't gotten rid of the old car.
come on.
it's the same. It's you can't expect things to come if you haven't freed up the space for it. And I fight with myself all the time because I'm a person who has like the other side of my bed. It's like the free space in my room. And
Yeah.
so it holds everything. And I go, but that space is taken.
Mm,
So you need to clear that space. What are you expecting in your life that you have clutter in?
mm,
What do you keep asking for that hasn't shown up?
yeah.
Look at that and then look at what's holding the space. What is taking the space of that thing? And
Mm,
typically you will find your answer. And so I've tried to be mindful of that in my life. When my life feels a little cluttered, when the things that I am manifesting doesn't seem like it's coming to be, girl, what's taking the space of that stuff in your life? And when you can work through that, and sometimes it's a process. I have sat with my bed and I have gone, it should take you 5 minutes to clear this stuff, and you are 2 hours later, and this is still sitting here. So,
yeah.
what are you struggling with at the moment? And it's just those conversations.
Yeah.
But it's a meaning to everything in life. It's a
Yeah.
meaning to why you keep struggling with this thing. And so, when you get to that, you free it up and you free up your space, then the things that need to come have a place to come.
Wow. Mic drop on that one, girl. Thank you for thank you for that. I love that. I love that. Well, I just want to thank you for your time, for your wisdom, for your words, and for giving me the opportunity to interview you, and for bearing with me with our technical difficulties.
Yes,
But life, right? We just pivot. We just figure it out along the way,
yes,
right? Because nothing is perfect, right?
no.
So I just want to thank you so much for being here with us today. We have some really, let me look at the comments here. Stephanie said, um, is not dropping expectations, dropping how to respond. She said, I have to write that down. How to respond. And then she also said, this is very powerful. So, as I always say, it's the power of one, when we do
Yes.
these, it's to pour into other women, it's to empower other women, to build community. And actually, before we end, can you share with us a little, like, what are you currently doing now? Um, just where you're
So I,
where you're going.
right, Lord knows where I'm going. But so we met at the district, and so I was working for the school district of Lancaster. So I've just ended 11 and a half years working for them, and I have taken a position as the executive assistant for the CEO for the Boys and Girls Club of Lancaster. So completely new journey, completely new direction. I thought it was going to be free of kids, but I found myself working in the clubs for the last couple of weeks.
uh,
So not not yet, but I also have a small business. I make waist beads and anklets, bracelets, things like that. To really, to me, it started as an empowerment for myself that has now grown into being able to branch out and use those things to empower other women. And so it has been a phenomenal thing. Um, where do I see myself going? I think I see myself growing my business, but um, I think down the line, I see myself maybe being a speaker somewhere. I don't know. I also would like to do a YouTube channel as like for a craft and chat because I love to craft. So
Mm,
a craft and chat about life and religion and spirituality and those topics all rolled in together.
awesome.
So
I
yeah,
love it all.
yeah.
So, if any ladies would like to support your business, how could they get a hold of you?
Send me a Facebook message or Instagram message because I'm on both of those. I'm still working on that whole business page. Haven't got there yet, but Facebook message or Instagram. My Instagram is Brekia 2000, Brekia 2000, and my Facebook is Shakia Natasha.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again for being here. Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
I look forward to just maybe later on bringing you back, and then we give everyone an update later on down the road.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely. You have a good night.
You too.
Bye bye.